Welcome to the Cubs baseball channel. It's a post-game reaction show. I want to introduce everyone to Chad Anderson, one of my good buddies, longtime Cubs fan. And I'm Mick Gillespie. And a lot to talk about. I'm going to throw the phone line up. We're going to hear from you guys as well. It's over. This is it. Season. The Cubs didn't make the playoffs. It just didn't happen. Why didn't it happen? I mean, there's a lot of blame to go around. They made some trades at the deadline that are going to really be trades you're going to look back on and be like, why did we trade DJ Herz, who's going to be one of the Nationals' top starters? Why did we trade Nelson Velasquez? Because you trade them to get into the playoffs, but there's no playoffs now. It's over. I know it's like, well, mathematically nothing. The Marlins have a game that's sitting out there that they got the lead in the ninth inning. They're going to win, and just didn't. I mean, I don't know. I've had my perspective, Chad, change so much watching the Cubs every day and watching David Ross, who I think is a really good person. And you guys get in the comment section too, because we'll definitely talk about it. And I may be wrong. Because I know some of you guys love David Ross. I loved him on Dancing with the Stars when that girl farted in his face. And I loved him when he was the Cubs catcher. But the season went downhill when he wouldn't play the young players. They promoted Alexander Canario and sat him on the bench. And this team's exhausted the way that he uses the bullpen. And you made these high-risk trades and you got nothing out of it.
I think if you look at just right there in the 10th inning, Mick, Patrick Wisdom comes in and he's playing second base. I don't really know what else you do at second base there, but he comes up with the bases loaded, 2 outs in the 10th inning. And you got a guy who let's throw some retro names out there. He's the Jose Hernandez of striking out. He just strikes out all the time, and he'll hit you 25 home runs, but he strikes out all the time. And you got PCA sitting on the bench. It's like, what are you doing? I know PCA struggled a little bit with the bat and everything, but who's got a better chance of getting the hit? Who's the faster runner if you do put the ball in play?
Right.
I think what pisses me off the most with this team is, and just kind of the dangling, and it's like you go back to old Cubs agony. It's like we go
like Jordan says,
I've
been a fan since 84. So I've been through this. Maybe you guys that jumped on with Chris Bryant and Javi Baez. This is what it feels like to be a Cubs fan right here.
This feels like 2004 all over again for me, where it just all falls apart in the final week of the season, final 10 days of the season. Yeah. The Cubs that year losing to the damn Cincinnati Reds, the final week, Adam Dunn and Austin Kearns and Willie Mo Pena and those guys. And
Willie Mo.
That's what it feels like. And I think what's so frustrating is that this team was not a World Series team.
No.
Never. They weren't. And they got hot at the deadline.
Right.
Belly goes nuts. All of a sudden, everybody has this carrot dangled in front of them. And we look at the playoffs as like a victory. But here we are. Now you've got nothing to show for it. And everybody just ends the year with a terrible taste in their mouth.
Look, I said the same thing. I mean, I wanted them to cash in on the market at the deadline because, I just knew that this was a seller's market. But at the same time, I'm also looking at it and I'm going, hey, if you guys win all these games and you're motivated and you turn this into a playoff run, the experience of getting to the playoffs is worth the risk of giving up some good players. And so that's why I was like, okay, if you do this, then you better get there. And then I'm watching an exhausted team down the stretch. And it was like Ross was like, saying in his press conferences and then showing us as manager, you know what, I'm not playing these young guys. And then they gave Hollywood Pete like a couple of games. It just didn't feel like the right environment. he struggled. He pushed too hard. And look, when Joe Madden was managing the Cubs, the environment that he created coming from the Angels and coming from Tampa Bay was that young players felt comfortable and welcome when they got there. Like they just slid into the spot. Like, hey, you're going to play right away. Even Lou Piniella, who's like old man Lou, would play those guys when they got there. We got Canario, and he sat on the bench for 2 damn weeks,
And they played loose.
But
they had
the thing about it is he's as good as Hap.
Yeah.
And you guys might not have seen him as much as I have, but you're going to realize I'm right. I've watched the guy play. I watched Hap play. I watched the Cubs. I know Canario's is good. He's probably better defensively. But you know what? It would have been good to give Hap a game off. And Chad, I want to ask you, and you guys in the comments section, tell me the same thing. I don't know. Is Hap your third hitter in your lineup? Like, is he a third hitter that's getting you to the postseason?
Yeah. Well, no. I don't think so.
He had a big home run tonight, though.
he did have a big one tonight. He also kills Pittsburgh. So he wears the Pirates out. I think he's got like 50 something games in a row on base against the Pirates. But think about the lineups too, Mick. How many different lineups did you constantly see where maybe I'm too old school, but I feel like nobody ever felt comfortable in their position? Like you got guys bouncing all over the lineup. One day Morel's leading off. The next day Morel's hitting 8th. The next day Talkman's in the lineup. Then Nico, and then Dansby's moved up and down. And then Seiya, who was great in the final 60 days of the season.
When they benched Seiya and then he came back in, he earned the money that he played like a guy getting paid $17 million.
He did.
Even with the drop ball that he lost in the lights, or he lost, if either it was the lights or somebody's shirt or whatever, the guy was still great.
It would have been me with my shirt off, but did you
a white shirt? I meant like a white t-shirt.
Did you
t-shirt contest?
There was a crazy stat I saw on the TV broadcast tonight. He was the first Cubs player since 2006 to have back-to-back months of a 640 OPS or higher.
Wow.
Back-to-back months. That was pretty, or I'm sorry, maybe it was slugging, not OPS. I think it was slugging percentage. But Seiya, just an incredible final 2 months. And it's a shame that blemish happened on Tuesday night in Atlanta. But this team just didn't finish. There's also, if you go back and look, I tweeted this out the other day. The Cubs struggled so much. They set a modern era major league record of blowing a lead in the 8th inning or later.
Yeah, and that's what Bears fan man says. It's the way they lost the last couple of weeks. Yeah, I agree, man.
Yeah,
like it is like get the lead. But the problem was, I think that this goes back a lot further than just blowing the leads. They have an infrastructure where they're so afraid of, well, we can't let the starter pitch 6 innings. We can't let the guy pitch 7 innings. Well, then that means, right, if you pull the guy out in the 6th, then your bullpen's got to pick up the other, 3. And if you go out in the 5th, he's got to pick up the other 4. Okay? Just do simple math. And then all those times that those guys are pitching or warming up, even if they don't get in the game, man, you're blowing bullets. And it was like Alzolay, Merriweather, Leiter, and Fulmer when he was healthy. And you know what I'm saying? Like but if the Cubs are losing, they throw the other guys in, but you can't pitch with like 3 guys out of the bullpen. And eventually all those guys kind of got hurt.
Yeah, they wore down and they got hurt. I actually take this even a step further into the past as far as some of the frustration and the blame. God bless Theo for getting the Cubs a ring. But if you look at after that ring,
oh, I know.
Cubs kind of got fat. Yeah, the Cubs kind of got fat and happy, right?
Yeah.
And then it was, to me, it felt like they were throwing, just kind of chasing your bet. The Quintana trade was awful. The whole Craig Kimbrell experiment didn't work out.
Mhm.
And then you've got all this core talent, right? Remember the fire stuff? With Baez, Rizzo, Bryant,
Right.
Wilson, all these guys. What did you actually get for them? Isn't that kind of how teams like Tampa and Kansas
Well,
City and places actually
they got
improve?
good players for him, but the problem is that Canario is one of those guys that they got. He's the
Yeah, but they
first,
don't
really
develop them.
the first guy from that group that got to the big leagues, and he sat on the bench the whole time. And then he got in the game and he hit the grand slam and he did. But he's I'm going to tell you guys this right now. I know Hap won a Gold Glove. Canario is a better defender in the outfield. Okay. And then, they're a comparable hitter. I mean, one guy's a switch hitter and one guy's not, but they're comparable. It's not like the teams that are winning, the other teams that are winning aren't afraid to play young guys. The Orioles, like the guy gets hurt, we're going to bring up another young guy. The Marlins. I mean, look at the Marlins. They got a lot of young guys. They got some veterans too, but they got some. They're not afraid to play the young guys. Like, it just felt like, well, these guys didn't get us here, so we're not going to play them. And now, you get about 2 weeks into the home stretch, and they're exhausted. Is what it felt like to me. It just felt like I'm watching this team that's doing this. And a lot of people on the message board here, Chad, they're constantly like, David Ross. And I at first I'm like, oh, he's great. And then as I'm watching, I'm like, he's okay. Like, he's not the worst, but Joe Madden, I know things didn't end well with Joe Madden, but at least he knew how to deal with, like, play young players and create like a kind of like a positive environment, and wasn't afraid to like bring somebody young in and be like, hey man, get in there and get it done. It just felt like it just didn't, I don't know. It just didn't feel like that kind of environment to me.
No, not at all. And that was the thing. They played loose. They played fun.
Yeah.
They had fun, when they were playing the young guys. One of the more impressive Cubs teams, obviously the 16 team won the World Series. But what about the 2015 team? Remember how good the Cardinals were that year and how they just kind of ran away with the Central, and the Cubs could never.
Then they got their
track them
ass
down?
kicked. They got their ass kicked.
Well, the Cubs ended up being the
by a
second
bunch of
wild
minor
card.
league guys. Right.
Right. They went on the road, beat Pittsburgh in the one game. Then they play St. Louis and they beat them in 3 of the 4 games to win the best of 5 series. And they go to the NLCS. And yeah, that was with a bunch of guys who basically had no experience. Javi Baez was called up, in August of the previous year. Chris Bryant was called up in 2015. Like, those guys were not experienced guys, but the culture Madden created had them playing loose and fun and energetic. And I didn't see that with this team. And
But no, I mean, like, they get up there and then it's like you just sit on the bench the whole time.
Yeah, I also didn't see any kind of, what you call a dog on this team. There wasn't like the fight guys. And I know Belly was awesome.
Who are some of your like, over the course of Cubs history, who are some of your dogs? Tell me some of your dogs.
Man, but I love the scrappy guys that are like I love Christopher.
Like Juan Pierre. Like
no, not Juan Pierre. No, not Juan.
I thought he was a good player.
No, he's a good player, but I love the Riot. Remember Terry?
Yeah. Terry.
Love Ryan Terrio. Yeah, I love Terry. I loved Dexter Fowler because he was that guy that was kind of like a leader on the team and was in that leadoff spot, center fielder. Like, I loved Dexter Fowler. I love Christopher Morel. He'll make some bonehead stuff here and there, but he can also make a play. Javi could do that. But one guy I couldn't stand was Wilson Contreras. Like, he drove me nuts. Yeah.
What about Rizzo?
Rizzo, of course, man. He was like the captain.
Baez too. Look, I know Baez isn't good right now, but I loved Baez.
I did too. But Baez is in a different culture right now.
I'm sure he's miserable. He wishes he could come back. I'm not even kidding. Like, I bet he wishes I bet you he wishes he was back with the Cubs again.
Sure. He absolutely does.
But I don't know. Let's go to the phone lines. Let's get a call here and see So wait, this guy, who's this and where you come from?
Hey, this is Don. I'm calling from Chicago, but originally I'm calling from Atlanta, but originally from Chicago.
Okay. Yeah. What'd you think, man?
I'm gonna rock bash a little bit, just because my thing was, I just feel like I agree with the whole not letting the kids play, and then I also felt like a lot of the players weren't loose. Like, I mean, I wasn't a big fan of some of Madden's moves as far as pulling guys early and all that stuff, but those teams were loose, and those guys weren't like afraid of big moments. This team, like every game, it seems like a guy is like afraid of a big moment. It seems like the coach is like telling them like, and go out there and do good and don't mess up. And remember, this is a big moment. It's like every inning before they come out of the dugout. He's like, and remember, this is a big moment. Because they were just so scared. Like, Nico made a mistake today on a double play. That was crazy. Like, you had the slide by half the other day. It's just, I don't know. They look too uptight. And I also don't like Ross's, like, philosophy of playing the guys who got us here.
Yeah.
Like, he ran them ragged, you know?
I'm with you, man. I mean, I changed my opinion on Ross just watching it down the stretch, because the bottom line is that you guys, the Cubs, made trades that weren't great trades because they were trying to help this team get to the playoffs. And then now you're not making it to the playoffs. You gave up those good players to guys that aren't even going to be around. And you're right. They played stiff. There's nothing loose about them. I agree with that.
Is it Don that's on the line? I mean,
and the
Don,
bullpen management was a big issue, like riding
Don, what was that week like in Atlanta?
riding some guys just too hard, like Alzolay. You know, I mean, he rode him so hard, I felt like, to the point where it was like, now look at him.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. He
Well,
just got hurt. You know, it's just.
When you're managing a bullpen, you got to think about the future too. You know, how about the game that really pissed me off the most was the one where Javier Assad, which, by the way, why did we take Javier Assad out of the starting rotation? Somebody explain that to me. But we got Javier Assad pitching a shutout into the eighth, goes through the eighth, like, oh, well, we got to pull him out of the game. Like, well, why the hell did you pull him out of the game? Now you lost that game, and then you blew the lead, and that was kind of and then knowing now that Alzolay had forearm issues, like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and you have guys that you use like you say, you use him as a piggyback to Stroman, who wasn't great, who didn't look great, by the way, out of the bullpen. So why give him a start if he didn't look great out of the bullpen? Like, all right, just leave him out of the bullpen for mop-up innings, you know? So you bring in the guy for like 4 innings. You might as well just let him finish, because now you have another guy down because you used another guy, you burned another guy in the bullpen. And that was my issue too, is if you watch other managers manage against Ross, it was like he was playing checkers and they were playing chess. Like, a lot of moves would happen and he would sit there like befuddled or bewildered. And I don't want to bash him. I'm not
because he's a good guy, and you know
guy,
it, but you just don't like his managing style.
Yeah, I think he should go back to Dancing with the Stars.
Me too. Remember that time he got farted on? Did you see that? Don, did you see the time he got farted on? He trolled that girl up and she farted in his face.
Oh, fuck no.
It's a famous moment. I mean, I even asked him about it one time.
Don's going to YouTube here in a second.
Don, you better go to YouTube and watch the time that he got farted in his face. Look, I like him as a guy. Like, I love him as a player. But, man, I'm not even saying they got to fire him, but he's got to learn from this, because this team should have made the playoffs. This team should have made the playoffs. This was a playoff team. Cody Bellinger is an MVP type guy. He played an MVP type season. You had all the pieces there. And it just felt like I just felt like there was a lot of mismanaged down the stretch.
Leaving Happ in the third hole when Suzuki was hot.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And Happ's not a 3-hitter, man. He's just not, you know. He's like 6 or lead off or something, but he's not a 3-hole guy.
you have to make him uncomfortable. Like, he doesn't want to be uncomfortable, but you might have to make him uncomfortable and make him the leadoff guy. He gets on base almost at 40%. He may have to be the leadoff guy. You know, he's an on-base machine, but he's not. He doesn't come in like most of his home runs, most of his runs driven in are not with guys on. You know, he's like a solo home run hitter. Like today, he hit a solo home run. It was an important home run, but he just doesn't deliver in all those big moments. Like, you can't tell me you think it has a clutch gene. You know?
Yeah, man. I agree.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate talking to you guys.
Hey, thanks, Don, man. Thanks for being part of the channel, too. Hey, we appreciate it. We're going to chew on what you talked about and appreciate it. And if you guys want to call in like Don, you can do it right now. 205-955-7615. He's Chad Anderson, and I'm Mick Gillespie. And I mean, I guess we're all kind of feeling the same way. I just, look, a couple things. Like, I thought the lineups weren't that good. Chad, I just didn't think I mean, they were okay, but we lost this in that Pirates series at home. And then from that point on, maybe the Rockies on the road, but that Pirates series, we just looked gassed, man. We just looked gassed, you know, and now what a waste. What a waste of a season, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest problem. This is the frustrating part is I tweeted or not tweet, I texted a buddy of mine back in July because right after the All-Star break, when the Cubs got hot there for that final week and a half or so of July.
Which was awesome, by the way. I did love it.
Yeah, it was great. And I texted him.
I couldn't believe it, honestly, because I didn't think they were that good.
I started looking at the schedule and I go, oh my God. This schedule in the second half is so easy.
I know.
This could be the most agonizing second half. I'm going to tease you and then yank it away, collapse. And that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
It is right there. And we all know it wasn't a World Series team, but it was just nice to see this team kind of get back to the playoffs. And some people point out, you know, the Cubs run differential this year and what their expected win-loss should have been or was. And I get it, but sometimes there's a little more to those stats. So the Cubs expected win-loss was 90 and 72 as of right now, but they're also 13 games under 500 against teams that are 500 or better.
Right.
So really all they did is play the Braves tight, play the Marlins tight, things like that, and then they blow out other teams.
Well, how about how shitty they were against Arizona? I mean, that was awful, all they had to do is win one or two of those games.
The losing 3 out of 4 at Wrigley to Arizona, that was the kick in the nuts.
Yeah,
because you had just swept the Giants, but then to parlay
right in the ball sack.
Yeah, right between the coconuts, man. But to take it to that next step and then lose 2 out of 3 to the Rockies. You're losing to the god-awful Rockies.
I know. How about Chris Bryant? Chris Bryant signed the big contract. We all love KB. Look, I love KB. I like Mike Bryant. I love him. But he hasn't played a whole lot since he got the money. And then he comes back and beats you in back-to-back games. Yeah. You know? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I know. It's so frustrating to watch, man. You just watch some of these guys and yeah, just kind of how they fell apart and whatnot. But then you look back, you're like, well, how the hell did they beat the Cubs? It's like the one time they get up and get excited, they beat the Cubs.
I know.
And ends up being what it is. Look at Wilson Contreras, what an awful year he had. And then look at his splits against the Cubs. He wore the Cubs out this year.
Did he? Well, look, I thought, I mean, you go around the positions. You know, I heard Ross wasn't a big Wilson Contreras guy, and I saw what he did in St. Louis, and you know, I've known Willie a long time, but you go get paid, and honestly, man, I like the Cubs catchers. I mean, you know, I thought like they did
Willie. I love Jan.
I thought Yan Gomes was great, right? And then Tucker Barnhart got pushed out, and you had you got Miguel Amaya. But I think that one of the things that the Cubs need to do in the offseason is that they need to go out and make a deal. Maybe they've got a ton of talent in the minor leagues right now for a, like a bona fide, like star young catcher. I don't think, Amaya's that. I think he's, good backup, and then it's not that I want to get rid of Gomes, but he's just old, like I think you kind of find that. Here's a great point. Twig, I got to throw this up there. Yeah, the summer of Mike Tauchman turned into the fall. And what he's saying is like, hey, he got hot and then he got cold. But then you got this guy, Pete Crow Armstrong, who is a really good player. And he had a couple of games and and all of a sudden it's like, well, he dropped the ball in Colorado. We got to get him out of here. Yeah. And it's like all of a sudden we just pretend like the guy can't hit. No, the guy can hit, and he's a really good base runner, and he does a lot of things right. But it just felt like such a stiff environment, like we didn't see the best of him. I'm just telling you, for someone that saw it, we didn't see that.
They treated PCA as if he was on eggshells.
Yeah, that's how it felt.
Did. I know, and I don't understand why he wasn't more involved. What I also couldn't figure out was in one of those Braves games, I think it was Tuesday night, Tauchman started the game. Okay. Well, they brought in PCA in the 4th or 5th to run for Tauchman. Right. Because the Cubs already had a 4 or 5-0 lead. Maybe it was 4 and then PCA scored to make it 5. And then the natural is, okay, well, we're bringing him in. He'll run. We've got a 4-run lead. It's now a 5-run lead. And let's let him play center field, play defense the rest of the night because he's our best defensive person out there, especially speed-wise. And then they take him out later in the game and move Bellinger to center field and have Wisdom in at first base.
Yeah, right. Who looks like he's catching with a boxing glove.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Wisdom's there's so many players on this roster that I'm looking at and I'm going, okay, I know the farm system probably better than anyone out there that's not working for the Cubs because I've seen it and I work at it every day. I'm telling you that they have a comparable farm system to what they had when they won the World Series. The guys that are coming right now are difference makers.
Yeah.
So Wisdom and, Master Boney and, you can go down the line. There's guys that just aren't going to make it on this team. Tauchman, I mean, a guy, I know he had a great summer, but he's not going to be on the team.
No, he's not.
Master
Boney, everybody's looking around at the beginning of the year. Who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
I mean, I know that some people knew the name.
What do you think was about him that obviously they like him? I don't get it. Like, I know he had a couple hits last week, but
I swore if you had asked me in May realistically why he was still on the team and not DFA'd, the only explanation I had was he had naked pictures of Ross. That's all I had. That's all I knew. So, what evidence was there to keep him on the team? Like, what evidence was there at all? Are you telling me that there's nobody in the organization all the way down to South Bend or Arizona that couldn't replace this guy? And I don't get it. Like, I don't know what he did all year other than he has a little bit of speed so he would pinch run. But other than that, that one will always baffle me.
I'll tell you a guy that they definitely missed was the little guy with a big bat, Nick Madrigal. I've always been a fan of his from his days in Birmingham, seeing him in Birmingham.
Yeah.
And that guy did a lot of things right, like just little things. And it was tough for them not having him.
Yeah. And
quietly.
You know what was great was how he went down to Iowa, instantly got everything fixed. Remember, he got demoted early in the year, went to Iowa, got everything fixed, came right back up 2, 3, 4 weeks later, whatever it was. And then played fantastic the rest of the way. So,
Yeah.
he was one that really, really was missed down the stretch. I also think Candelario being hurt in the final couple of weeks, did not help things at all.
Tom says Ross shows no confidence in playing PCA. How does he feel when he never gets a second at it? Look, I was shocked. I thought, and for those of you guys that hang out on the channel, I thought the minute September rolled around, you're bringing up Hollywood Pete. You're getting him in the game. You're throwing him out there.
Yeah.
And then but he was struggling a little bit. So they bought up Canario, who's killing it. And they didn't even play him. And then, it was all of a sudden, it's like, oh, we need some help. And then they brought Pete up and then I didn't like the way they used him at all. And it's like, and I said this the other day on the video, and I'm going to reiterate it. If he can't manage the young players, then they better find somebody who can, because this is an organization that has a ton of talent right now, and it's all double and triple A talent. And there's going to be roster fights all over the place because it's going to be tough to keep guys like Matt Shaw off the big league roster, but you got a Gold Glove second baseman in Nico Horner. That third base spot, there's going to be guys, BJ Murray, the guy that was in the Futures game, Jake Slaughter. You probably never heard of him, but he's like, 20 home runs and, a bunch of doubles and stolen bases in Iowa.
What do you do with Matt Mervis?
I honestly, man, Mervis, I was a big Mervis guy, but I'm a big Bellinger guy now. Like, I think you got to sign Bellinger.
So you signed Belly and trade Mervis?
I mean, or something. I mean, Mervis got a shot and it didn't work out. Now I know that wasn't. We just got a little sample of it.
Yeah, that was 10 days.
But I think I got to put Pete Crow Armstrong in center. You got Seiya in right. I'm not totally convinced that you have to have Hap, but he's your left fielder right now. I'm telling you, Canario is a better player. And then I put Belly at first and then maybe play him in the outfield some. But if they let Bellinger walk, I mean, and look, this is exactly it. And this is a great point right here, right? Is that he's got Boris as an agent. We all hate Boris. I think we can all agree on that because the guy's going to try to rake every dollar out. And look, he may throw Bellinger on some roster on a team that he hates working for every day because he got a couple extra bucks. But Bellinger loves Chicago. We love him. And I just hope that he stays, man. I mean, I think you build around with all these young guys, you keep him. He's the one guy that I just don't want to get rid of.
Well, think about this too. I was wanting to bring this up earlier. I got sidetracked talking about farting in people's faces.
That was Dancing with the Stars with Ross. Do you mind while you're talking, if I put a little beer in my mug here?
No,
I'm not driving. I'm at home. This is my home studio.
Is that okay? You're good.
Is that okay with all you guys too in the comment section? All right, go ahead.
So
just not even a half, just a taste.
Just a sample. We're just doing a small flight this evening.
Yeah, just a flight.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, I go back and think of too. The Cubs have kind of had this thing where they go after the has-been guy, hoping that it circles back, just like Bellinger. Perfect example.
Right.
Cubs go after a has-been guy, get the 1-year deal, the 2-year deal,
which I thought was a great move.
Yeah, absolutely. Bellinger was low risk, high reward kind of deal. And so, but now you're okay. What do we do with him? But what's the last big signing the Cubs had? Because
Seiya?
you traded for Chapman. Yeah, but is Seiya's not a market moving sign. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, he was great and he is great and it's a good value for what you've gotten so far. But yeah, too much head on that.
It's that there's Tom, if you were over here right now, I'd pour you a cold one. That for whatever reason, that side foams. I haven't figured it out yet. So
you're foaming like the Cubs in the final week of September. Over
Oh
there,
man, it's good. I'm going to be in a bad mood it's going to take me 2 weeks to get over this, man.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm so pissed because I just didn't. I for weeks thought, and keep your thought right there, Chad, because I just cut you off. But I thought for sure we were in. For sure. Like I just didn't see it. You lost to the damn Marlins and the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
All right, just pick it up. I
was just gonna say, I'm sitting here thinking about it, and I thought about this kind of at the deadline too. But it's one of those things. When's the last time the Cubs did the big name? Like the real big name. Like you got to go back to Soriano.
Right.
Was that the last big one?
I don't know, but they signed Soriano to try to sell the team. You know, that was when the Tribune.
Yeah, I actually didn't like the Soriano deal, but my point is, are the Cubs actually ever going to be players?
Well, what about it was John Lester. John Lester was
that was a big one.
Yeah, it was the last kick ass. We're gonna sign, but here's my problem.
But real quick, off season, Soto is apparently going to be up for trade from the Padres. Ohtani's going to be a free agent. Belly's going to be a free agent.
Right.
Like, are the Cubs ever with the Ricketts family going to be a player on that caliber superstar? Like, I think when Pujols was coming to the Cubs. Remember when Bryce Harper was coming to the Cubs?
Be glad you didn't get Pujols. I mean, look at what
that. No, I'm with you.
Turd he turned out to be.
I'm just saying, like, when's it ever going to, will the Cubs ever have that? Are they ever going to be?
If it's the next John Lester, then damn sign him, you know? Twig makes a great comment here. And this is exactly like Chad and I were talking before the game ended about our opinion of Swanson, right? And Twig's like, hey, the goal is to build a lineup where Swanson's your ninth hitter like he was in Atlanta.
Right.
He was a free agent signing, and we both love him. I mean, but he's not a marquee hitter. He's good, but he's not great. Like, he's exactly what you would expect. Like, he's like a 250 hitter with a little bit of pop, but he plays every damn day. He gives you amazing defense at shortstop. He's a good leader, but you're not winning. He's not your this guy's not Cal Ripken Jr. He's not A-Rod, as much as I hate A-Rod. He's not Nomar, like back in the Boston days, not the Cubs.
Like
Nomar.
to say that. Yeah.
Nomar. Like, he's just, you're right. If you can get it to where he's batting ninth, and then the other thing too, and I'm going to throw this up here too. This is exactly my point that I'm thinking when I'm hearing you, Chad, is you don't want to start signing all these guys and block these young players that are coming up right now.
No.
From getting there. Like, we just traded Nelson Velasquez because we signed Seiya Suzuki for a sidearm middle reliever, and the guy's hitting a home run every 9.6 at bats, the same as Mark McGwire. You're going to regret that one. You're going to regret that one.
Yeah, that one's killing me. I really liked Nelson. I was sad to see him go.
You're going to regret it.
The only other left-handed bat is Ohtani as far as free agency goes. Just looking at it right here. So Juan Soto would be one, if the Padres are willing to deal him, because they're talking about cutting payroll. But and I don't want to block the young guys, but we don't. Bellinger evolved into the superstar, right?
Right.
It wasn't planned. Everybody knew it was possible, but he wasn't the superstar. He evolved there. So are the Cubs going to be active and looking at that centerpiece that the rest of these guys, like Dansby, like Nico, that, if Hap, those are the guys that you're going to have build around this player or that center point or that centerpiece. And that's what's going to be interesting in the offseason, because the Cubs usually aren't. They'll throw the name out there, but they're not ever actually legitimate suitors for a lot of those guys.
But I don't think that, look, I love the idea of the Cubs being buyers and stuff, but I'm telling you, man, there are a ton. Name the position and I'll tell you what we got coming. Let's just play the game, because this is what my life's been for the last 20 years.
Yeah,
I know this shit like like I wish I didn't. I wish I was in the big leagues, but I'm not. I'm the guy that knows the minor leagues. So tell me
I think
position.
the three positions that you look at and you go, what are the biggest areas for improvement? Assuming you keep Bellinger.
All right, throw it out
first,
there.
Okay. So I would go catcher, third, left.
So I told you I would trade for a catcher. You got Pablo Aliendo, who I thought did a nice job for the Smokies. I don't think you got anything in AAA, but I don't look at anyone and go, okay, you know what? We have the next big guy.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have Shea Langoliers like the Braves traded to the A's, who I think is a great catcher. Sean Murphy. You know, like I think that's the one position where if I was the Cubs, I'd be willing to give up some talent to get that position. Because you know, I like Pablo and I like Miguel Amaya, but I just don't think they're like the guys that are they're not to me, they're like backups. They're not star.
They're not your everyday guy.
Wilson Contreras when he came up. All right. What's the other position? First base?
No, I said disregard first. Let's assume you re-sign Belly. So then it would be third base and then potentially left field.
Okay, Jake Slaughter is your AAA third baseman. The guy's put up a bunch of numbers. Maybe I heard he was playing a lot of middle infield this year, maybe second base, but I think he's, you know. And then BJ Murray, the guy that was in the futures game, he just starred. We just saw him win the MVP of the postseason for the Smokies. He's got a great eye. The power numbers aren't where I'd want him to be, but plays pretty solid defense. But he's not ready to go up there now. You know, maybe you move Matt Shaw over there. I saw Matt Shaw, the first round pick out of Maryland this year, was like 12th overall. Yeah. And he pretty good player, still needs a little seasoning, but I mean, that's what I'm guessing they're going to have to do is just all the infielders. Luis Vasquez, who's your shortstop in AAA, maybe you put him at third. I mean, he'd be like, if you pat him at third with all the range he's got, and he put up a great season, you know, if he follows that up again, I mean, he's star type material. But yeah, I mean, maybe one of those guys, but I wouldn't go out and sign somebody because you're with what you got there, those four guys, somebody's going to slide up there and let them fight it out for that spot. And what was the other position you said? Outfield?
I was just throwing out left field because both of us kind of give Hap a hard time.
Well, I mean, Alexander, you got Alexander Canario. We don't really know what he can do because Ross has had him on the bench. He won't play him. Yeah. But he's pretty good. Okay. These guys got a lot of power. He would have been up there had he not gotten hurt in a winter league game, you know, playing for where's he from? Maybe like, was it Dominican? He got tangled up or something at first base and hurt his ankle and his shoulder. And he just came back. And when he came back, they couldn't get him out. And I don't think you would waste Pete Crow Armstrong and left.
No.
Jonathan Perlaza. You got a guy named Jonathan Perlaza who's a switch hitter with power. He's got a right field arm, but he could play left field easy. And another pretty good season for him. You traded Nelson Velasquez, and you're going to hate that deal. It's going to be like when you traded Jorge Soler. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, this guy's leading the league in home runs. Yeah, Owen Casey's a right fielder right now, but he's like one of your top prospects in AA. I think he's got a little bit more, maybe after next year. But there's options. That's what I'm saying. Like you got
but they
guys
all can't play either. So at some point, don't you have to make trades or you got to?
But don't get a middle reliever, a sidearm middle reliever. No, get a back end bullpen guy like that. Quaz trade to me, it was like. You just traded an everyday starter that's going to bat fourth or third in their lineup for a middle reliever.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't want those guys. That's what I mean, though. Aren't those the packages you put together for? Aren't those the guys that you put together in the package?
We got this guy named Pie Trainer. Do you know how he got his nickname Pie? You know, Pie Trainer, the old pirate. I forget the guy's name. It's a priest, Father something. They used to buy the kids pie, and he'd get it all over his face, and they called him Pie pie head or something. That's going old school, Twig. That's going old school. I don't know.
I'm a Cubs fan because anytime I see the word pie, I instantly think Felix PA.
Oh man!
Like,
how do you got balloons on your thing there?
I have no idea. I have no idea what was clipped or what.
Whatever you're doing over there is I don't have that ability on mine. But you're right, Felix PA with his pie. One of those, like when we used to hear like the Cubs had these prospects coming, and then it would be him.
Yeah. Corey Patterson. That's another one that sticks out. Yeah.
Jackson.
Those are.
All right,
those are good ones.
All right, we got how long are we going? We're going to go another 15.
Yeah, we make it one flat. Yeah,
all right,
that works.
Well, you guys get in the comment section and you tell us what you think. But this is like we're all pissed off together right now.
Yeah, this is a bitch session.
Yeah,
this is a bitch session.
No one's happy here about that.
No, not at all.
So what about pitching wise? Okay, so you got Cade Horton, who I just saw just rip right through the Southern League.
Oh, you're stuck
with first round pick from a couple years ago, man. He's top of the rotation type stuff. I don't know that he'll make it out of spring training in the rotation, but he might. I mean, I wouldn't count him out.
Look at the rotation you have. You're going to be stuck with Stroman, right? And that was one that I really wish they had traded.
Why did they move him back into the rotation and take Assad out? Did I miss something? Did Assad get ripped up?
I have no idea.
Was it analytics? I don't get that move at all.
Ever since Stroman went on the IL with that blister and then all the other trouble, like he was never the same. Right. You could tell even when he'd come in, he'd throw 4 innings, give up 3 runs. Like he was never somebody that the other team feared. So you got Stroman. Steele is obviously the horse. Assad did so well, and then again, like you said, they take him out of the rotation. We have no idea why. Taillon was just an absolute disaster this year. I know he pitched decently in the last 2 or 3 outings, but overall for the course of the year, big disappointment on the signing. Hendricks is Hendricks.
Right.
5-6 inning guy. If he's locating, he's great. But he's also very susceptible to getting beat up pretty quick. Just because he has no power. It's a location and change speeds guy. And that's kind of it, right? I mean, Drew Smiley went to the pen. He was starting the year off. Wesneski went to the pen.
He was so good at the beginning of the year too, and then
Smiley was unbelievable.
I heard the Cubs broadcast today. They were like talking about how amazing he's picked up some velocity.
Okay.
All right.
He still went from like a 2 ERA to a 5 ERA, which means he had an 8 ERA.
Who loves those analytics, doesn't he?
Yeah. I don't know. You just look at the pitching, and that was kind of it.
Right.
Yeah, they flashed a few brilliant outings here and there, but it's still far from any kind of a playoff contending rotation. I mean, after Steele, we still haven't seen Assad for a full year. He was great for the time he was there.
I know. Look, who knows what it would have looked like, but I mean, it wasn't like he did anything to get taken out. Twig's talking about Taillon. I thought Taillon battled too.
At the end of the year, he did. When it mattered, he did step up. He 2 or 3 starts. Yeah,
and that contract. I mean, is that the guy you're signing long term?
What was it? 4 years, $80 million.
Hold on a second, everybody.
Hey, hang on.
Wait a second.
Let me get the montage. Hang on. Yeah. Let me jump in final cut and get the montage.
I was on the radio interview the other day, and they're like, "What do you think about the Cubs broadcasters? They weren't happy about them stopping the game." And I'm like, "Well, the Cubs are playing for the playoffs, and I mean, is this?" I said, "Is this up there with when Pete Rose broke the hits record, or Cal Ripken passed Cal Ripken passed Lou Gehrig. I mean, come on, man. Like,
But are stolen bases? And I'm not trying to take this away from Acuna. I mean, he's
no,
best
it's a
player in the
great
National
record,
League.
but it's not.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
You
But
could have celebrated after we gave up the hit to lose.
You do it the next night before the game. Okay, that's when you do it. But aren't stolen bases up dramatically across the board this
Yeah,
year?
because you got bigger bases and you're only allowed to throw over to first twice.
Right, twice.
And
Yeah.
and they're calling every damn balk that you could think of. Like it's they and Theo, this is Theo's it works for Major League Baseball. He's a part of this. They wanted to have they thought that the action would make the game better. And so they kind of push this. And I'm not saying it does or it doesn't, but it's not the same. This isn't the same stolen base that it was, when Ricky Henderson was stealing. If it was, the guy would have stole like 100 and he would have stole like 800 bases in a season. Like,
just ask Ricky. He'd tell you that.
Boom, 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 No, I don't know how many was so, but you know what I mean? Like he stole bases when you actually had to like read pitchers and all that stuff.
That's what I'm saying. It's like we brought the fences in 100 feet, and then everybody's bragging about a home run record. I mean, yeah, great player, gonna be probably an easy Hall of Famer unless he gets hurt. He's gonna have an amazing career in Atlanta, face of the Braves, gonna do great things. But yeah, it was awkward as shit. I was like, "What are you guys doing?" So
It just
we're literally
like,
in a pennant race here.
I know. No, I agree, man. It just it was like. It just reminds you that, man, I shouldn't say this. Should I say it?
Yeah.
They don't know baseball in Atlanta. Like, they don't get it. Like that, like, it's like, you know what I mean?
Franchise nobody wants. They've been from Boston to Milwaukee to Atlanta. They're having
their golden years, man. This is their golden years. Like, okay, we'll just make a celebration right now. Okay, well, you do that, Major League Baseball should have told him, like, you can't do that.
I will say I'm jealous of the Braves because they did what the Cubs did and they locked up the young talent for quite a while. Cubs did that too. They had Bryant, Rizzo, Baez, Contreras, Happ. Like they had all those guys locked up for a period of time, but the Braves players are repeating every single year what they're doing, whereas the Cubs fizzled. So I do have to say I'm a little bit jealous of the Braves right now.
I just think that what happened was we were so pumped about that World Series win.
No doubt.
I mean, and I still am, man. I mean, I'm next show we were out here bitching. I'll go get my World Series ring. I mean, like I love those guys. I always will. Joe Madden and Dexter Fowler, and
I think Joe got a raw deal in Anaheim.
Yeah, I do too. Jason Hayward and KB and and all the whole team, man. I mean, I love those guys. It was special. But the problem is that you win and then it's time to put that ring away and start working on the next one, and they just couldn't get out of that. And maybe it was just that we were just so happy because we've had so many freaking seasons like this that we're like, oh my God, we actually won, but to build up to that, remember, Theo got to lose 4 straight years to get the picks to win the World Series, So I don't know. I think I thought overall we underachieved. Here's one of my guys right here. Music Man Harp. We can win another in 108 years. Man, I wanted to prove you wrong, but you're right. We blew it again. we freaking blew it again.
We
blew it again.
It was the 04 Cubs tonight, man. This week has been the 2000.
But you know what? It's been 2 weeks of this, Chad. It's been 2 weeks, man. It's not just tonight.
It's the whole month.
It's been like the 04 Cubs. You're not beating the Pirates. You go to
Colorado,
the Rockies, and you can't win against them, and you got the lead in all those games, and you don't win. And I don't know, man. Like,
that's the stat I was looking for. I couldn't find it. Someone tweeted it today. The Cubs
Diamondbacks
the lead.
Like the 27 Yankees against us. Like they just we can't do anything against them.
You can't.
I don't know, but I appreciate all you guys that are on the message board. I try to respond to all you guys. Look, and here's one for you. I'm going to put this one up here. A hater.
Look at this guy. Yeah, that's because the Braves don't have post-game shows. Nobody cares.
They're ready for Georgia football.
Damn.
Who are the Dogs
Braves fans? They got Auburn tomorrow.
Auburn, yeah. Look, we know you got Auburn tomorrow, and you better get to bed, sleep tight for that 2:30 or 3:30 kickoff against them, your arch rival. And that's the longest
in the South.
That's the the longest rivalry.
Yeah. They're probably they got fans on their hands and knees barking at people at Toomer's Corner right now.
Oh, look at this. Jersey Dolphins. What's up, brother? He's like, sorry about your Cubs, Mick. We have plenty of space on the Phillies wagon. Schwarbs is on the
They
Phillies.
do have Schwarber.
I might pull for them. And they also have Castellanos. Like, they got some Cubs on there.
Nick. Yeah. Did Schwarber still have more homers than singles or whatever it was this year? Did you see that stat? It's insane. It's a typical Schwarber.
Who would have thought this?
Stat.
Who would have thought this? Who would have thought that of the four big guys that we had, right? Rizzo, Bryant, Baez, and Schwarber,
okay,
that Schwarber would have the best career.
Yeah. Yeah.
Think about that.
I want to pull up his splits.
I've been at a bar before and people were like, can you believe that? And I'm like, no. I would have thought it would have been Baez and Bryant, then Rizzo, close third, and then Schwarb's in there. But I mean, Schwarb's, he's just like, he's a big bopper. He just hits a bunch of home runs and he's clutch.
Isn't this crazy how different the game is? Listen to his line, okay? This is for Schwarb's. So 46 homers, a 197 average.
No, you don't need to hit. You don't need to hit base hits.
I know. 101 RBIs, 107 runs scored.
Yeah.
That's crazy how
it's like a whole league of Rob Deers. Do you remember Rob Deer? Bob Horner. Like it's a whole league of these guys. Yeah. I'm going to bat like, under 200, but I'm going to kill the hell out of the ball when I get the opportunity. Twig says that Rizzo had the best. Rizzo has not had a better career than. I'm sorry. I mean, like Rizzo's the second guy. Rizzo's the second guy. It's Schwarber, then Rizzo, and
definitely
then
don't say Bryant or Baez. It's either
they're kind of tied for third. I mean, I would think, right?
Bryant's always hurt.
That's his problem. And Baez, you can tell Baez hates being in Detroit every day. Like he hates it. Because that guy plays with so much passion. He's just like, get me out of here.
So Rizzo career-wise, are we going off career?
Yeah, go ahead. Throw it up.
All right. So how many home runs do you think Rizzo has career-wise? He's 4 years older than Schwarber.
Yeah, I want to say maybe 150.
Career?
Yeah. More than that?
Much higher. Much higher.
200?
Basically double. 295.
Really?
295 for Riz. Right. Yeah. This is impressive, especially in today's game. 263 career average.
Yeah. Look, he's a great defender too. I mean, like I love watching him play first base. No doubt, man.
Man, he made some crazy plays. Remember him climbing the tarp at Wrigley?
Oh, I know.
Remember the World Series where
it's his balance. It's like
Rizzo?
He's like a big guy with balance. Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Yeah, he's a 4-time Gold Glover.
Okay.
And then Schwarber, lifetime 245 homers, 227 average, 500. He's about 385 RBI short, but he's 4 years younger. So trajectory wise, Schwarber's gonna have a lot more home runs.
But that's what he does, though, man. Like Rizzo's a much better defender, though.
Yeah, he's gonna have more RBIs and more runs scored too.
So it's pretty close. I'll say this: it's kind of close.
So Schwarb has probably got a little bit of an edge overall offensively.
Well, the other thing is that he also took his team to the World Series last year too, But I mean, it's a lot closer than I thought when you pulled the stats up.
did he win a World Series in Boston, or he just went to Boston? I don't think he won. He didn't win a World Series. Yeah.
He said,
look,
it's gonna
hey,
be.
hey, guys, Chris Bryant is actually a fantastic option on Immaculate Grid some days. Like a fantastic Immaculate Grid. That's because he's already disappeared. He really has. Like he's a great Immaculate Grid guy.
Oh, he did an hour. I'm still just like, I'm not gonna sleep. I'm just gonna be in my bed.
Yeah, I'm not any
off.
happier.
No.
Yeah, the venting therapy session didn't work out.
I love how like
I'm
listening. I listen to the Cubs on I had to ride. I listen to the Cubs and I watch it, and they're like, oh, the Cubs are a half a game back. No, they're not. That they lose the tiebreaker. So it's so they're not a half game back.
They were a game and a half out.
They were a game and a half back before this. And then, obviously they're done now. Like, but I don't know. Like I maybe when I wake up tomorrow with you guys, keep messaging, just convince me that there's something positive about this season. This is like the worst case scenario. When I bought into let's go for it. Like, let's go. Like, this is exactly what you didn't want to have happen. We're going to trade away our good young players for a sidearm middle reliever guy. And DJ Hurst is going to the fall league. He's going to be like a number 2 starter for Washington. And honestly, Jamer was great till he got hurt, but all right, go ahead, Chad. I don't know.
Okay, real quick. So the Cubs this month, I was trying to real quick do the record 1-2, 2-2, 5-2, 5-5, 6-5, 7-5, 7-7.
Look at this. Just look at this right here.
8-12.
Isn't Harry
11-12?
Is Harry Hill the guy that got kidnapped by the mob?
Okay. All right. So look, the Cubs had one losing month this year.
They said the positive thing is the season's over.
It's true. It's true.
Thanks, Music Man.
Look, the Cubs had one losing month. It was May, all summer long.
Right.
They're 11-15 in September when they've played the Pirates, the Rockies,
I know, man,
the Giants, the Reds. You got the Braves and the Brewers, but those two teams have also clinched, and you're playing them the final week.
I know.
Okay, so you're 11-15. If the Cubs get swept the rest of the weekend and go 11-17, October technically is, but we'll call it September. They go 11-17 in September, collapse, miss the playoffs. They're going to miss the playoffs, but
they're out.
Does Ross have a job Tuesday?
Yes, because I don't think, I just can't imagine. I don't know. You saw Gabe Kapler got fired by the Giants today, right?
But that's because he had some issues with the team. Because he won 107 games last year.
I'm going to give you the other side of Ross.
Team issues.
All right, this is extra innings on the show. I'm going to give you the other side of Ross. This is why I like Ross. These are the things I like about him. First off, the team has never quit. I mean, even tonight they didn't quit. Like hit what the issues we have with him is the lineup and playing young players.
Sorry, I saw Tom's comment. Caught me off guard.
He's pulling out his bong. You do that, Tom. It's probably legal there. It's not legal where we're at right now. But you could pass it to us. Yeah. The guys play hard for him, first off. And I know the guy, I know Rossi's a competitor. And I respect him. I know he's a good dude too. Like I just know him. I know he's a good dude. Like it's he just got so hung up on wanting to play veterans that I think that he missed out on the fact that he's in Florida. Is that you got a medical card?
Yeah.
You got a medical card. It's coming here too.
To yourself, Tom. So I'm with you,
man.
but I don't think
he's not a jerk or anything like that. He's actually a great guy.
He's very well liked. I think he's fine, but I think next year he starts kind of on a warm seat.
Oh yeah, look, if this is a wasted season.
Yeah, it is.
As of like today, it's a
Yeah.
wasted season.
This one was pissed away. Yeah, pissed away. Yeah.
Hey, all right, look. Yes. I was at spring training when they brought those Cubs in. Like I was there covering the team. It was awesome. Like I loved him. Like I don't know why after 2016 Joe Madden's like bringing in baby bears and Cubs, like real Cubs, and then like you look over, they have a DJ out there while everybody's stretching, like spinning records, and like a musician might be there, or a magician, or a famous movie star. Like it was always something going on. It was so laid back and fun. And then they won the World Series. It was like, all right, we won a World Series. Now we got to get tight. Like, why change that, man? Like, why?
Yeah, I agree. Better though than when they had to bring out a goat. Was that 1995, 97, 97?
I don't know.
0-13. They walked a goat out at Wrigley Field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, was it 97?
Yeah, it was 97.
Jeez,
I believe it was 97. Yeah. 0-13 to start the season. Set the National League record. I think your hometown Baltimore Orioles have the Major League record.
Yeah, 21 in a row.
21. Yeah. 0-21 to start the year.
Yeah, that's crazy. One more comment. Twigs like Madden got warm feelings when he took Hendricks out today in the 5th. I know that like some people will rip Hendricks on here. Two things about him is that last time I interviewed him, everybody said I looked like his older brother. And then I see the picture, and it does look like I'm his older brother. If he goes, he's like the last piece of our championship team. I know he's like throwing like 85, but he still gets outs.
Yeah, he's like,
I love him. I really do love him. I'm going to tell you guys that right now. I do love him.
The professor.
Yeah. All right. All of you guys that hung out with us tonight, thank you so much. Chad's going to pop on. He's going to be part of our channel. Any final thoughts, Chad?
No, just shitty, and it sucks, and it's the Cubs. It's the Cubs life that many of us or that we've all experienced and had to deal with at some point. But I will say, going into this year, I didn't think this was even possible.
I didn't either, man.
So
I guess that's kind of what we're going to look at. I agree.
I will say that I at least have some excitement for 2024.
Yeah.
Because I really thought that the Cubs were like 25 or 26 before they were going to actually contend or be in the mix. So this year did at least get me excited for the beginning of next year.
Great point, man. I agree with that. I think that
off season will be fun,
man. I agree. And I got to remind myself of that because that's the hardest part of kind of, because they were better than these other teams, but they didn't make it. And don't tell me, and somebody's going to be like, they still have a chance. No, they don't. They're out.
They're done.
They're done.
Give it up,
Just
guys.
Accept it right now.
Go hit Tom's
They were really
ball.
done. They were really done when they lost to Atlanta all those games. But
Tuesday night was brutal.
Here's the good part about it is you're right. I thought they were going to stink this year. They're better than 500, which is surprising to me. When people tell me that they're like, well, the Matrix tell me that this team was a 90-win team. I'm like, give me Tom's bong. I need a big drag of that bong because I never believed with this pitching staff that they were going to be that good. I think that's where they really need to bolster is go out and sign pitching. Go get pitching because that's where you're really going to end up, helping this organization because the position players are there in the minor leagues. And then somebody's got to get with Ross and be like, listen, dude, try Tom's bong. And let me tell you, like when these guys come up, bro, play him, man. You don't let him rot on the bench the whole time. And and please don't put Hap in the third spot every night anymore, please.
Every night. Every night.
Hey, this was therapy for me.
Death,
hope it was
taxes,
therapy
and
for you
Ian Happ
guys.
in the 3-hole, man.
And this is like 40 years of being a Cubs fan.
It is.
Hey, awesome job, Chad. Thank you, all you guys that called in and which was Don, and then messaged in the message section.
Yeah.
Well,
You guys are great.
Yeah, you guys are great. We'll throw something up tomorrow, and we'll talk to you soon. Go Cubs.